Hey, Griffin Skate here, talking about geometry. It seems to be a main problem in skateboarding right now is people are not creating the correct geometry because of aftermarket bushings. They don't understand the difference, and they put too short or too tall or too incorrect, whatever it is, and then you snap kingpins, you're breaking things, you're frustrated, you're over it, you don't understand. Okay, we're gonna give a quick understanding of basically what you need to understand. Okay, first thing, the street truck. Second, the Bennett. The Bennett is tall. This is short. This is called a low truck. This is called a tall truck. Randall is a downhill truck. Downhill truck that actually has been around for decades. It's the reason why we have downhill trucks these days is because of Randall. And because of Randall, he changed to a whole different style of truck than, say, the traditional truck. These are traditionals. This is a downhill. All right, so we got that. All right, the next thing, when you're following geometry, okay, it's the bushing heights. That's all it is. You have to follow the stock bushing heights, no matter what. And that is the most important thing you need to follow. As long as you follow the bushing heights, you can have the correct geometry. If you don't follow the bushing heights, you're not going to have the correct geometry. If you don't use the same kind of, say, aftermarket pivot cups that are going to stick out of the pivot, it's going to mushroom out. It's kind of like the tracker that gets all banged up and nasty. That's going to it's not good. It's not good performance. It doesn't do anything. You can always improve the performance in a pivot cup. So, you know, the difference between the angles is the reason why you have to have the correct geometry, okay? Because you have variable degrees, okay? So this is probably like, say, you know, that could be like 25 degrees here, and this could be like, I don't know, 15 degrees, okay? So, you know, that's just the bottom, all right? Then here, you've got another 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, whatever these degrees are, okay? The thing is that this pivot and this hanger have to sit on a bushing, and that hole has to be centered. Okay, it's not centered right now because I don't have a pivot cup in it, but that's centered. Okay? As long as your hole is in the center, you have the correct geometry. If your hole is not in the center and it's like butt up against it like that, it's not going to turn well. And nor is it going to ride well, and you are going to get hanger hang up, and you are going to snap the kingpin right away. You're also going to have a floating pivot that's going to be like this the whole time, and you're going to get speed wobbles, no matter what. So, every one of these trucks has a correct geometry. This is the correct geometry for Paris. That one's like in a diamond shape. Bennett, same problem. A lot of people are taking and modifying Bennett's, and they are doing it all incorrect. You want that kingpin in the center. You also want this kind of an angle, okay? That's the angle you're looking for. If you don't have that angle, you're not gonna have a truck that's gonna work very well. A lot of people will take and go and buy aftermarket bushings that aren't the right height. These are the correct heights. That is just a normal barrel. This is a tall barrel. You always have a tall barrel on the bottom on a Bennett, no matter what. But let's say you did put a stock barrel on there. Well, this is what it's going to look like. Incorrect. Totally incorrect. See how far forward that is? It's not in the center. This is going to be rubbing up against this. Pretty soon this is going to shear off. That's going to break. You're going to have the same problem. Other problem with bennets is people use the wrong washers. I've seen guys do this. Okay, this is completely incorrect. Now, what's happening is you got a gap underneath here with no support. Now you're just basically just pushing on the top of that washer. Is not seating flat. So you put this back on here to try and correct your height. And you do the same thing. Not in the center. Not even close. Okay? And the angle's off. Doesn't look off, but see how it's pointing down on this side? That's incorrect. That's going to wear out your pivot cup right away. It's also going to break your kingpin. So, washers, pivot cups, bushings, they all need to have the correct heights for each truck. If they don't have the right height, the right angle, then they aren't going to ride right. And they're not going to turn right. They're not going to perform right. And they're not going to do their job. Correct angle. Randall, same thing. Back in the day, Randall has always used the same size bushings for both top and bottom. The main problem with Randall, same problem as everybody else. Everybody else basically wants to take an aftermarket bushing. They put too soft of a bushing on the bottom. That hangs up. That breaks a kingpin. Same problem. Okay? Yes, you can take this from being an inverted kingpin to being a fixed kingpin. No problem. Easy peasy Japanese. You can also have a longer kingpin on a Randall. No problem. Easy peasy Japanese. You can have it so that you basically have like the stock height on the bottom and maybe a taller bushing on the top of the hanger. Okay, that's going to give you better performance anyways. Okay, washers are the same thing. All washers are going to be 1/16 of an inch thick, give or take. We're talking about shaving hairs here. Okay, all aftermarket parts can also work well, but there's also stock parts that don't work well. One of the things I hate about Bennett's is that just grinds all up against this side of here, right here. Instead, you use a flat. This isn't the right flat, but that's not going to grind up against anything. That's not going to bump up against anything. It's going to give you better performance. Okay, hitting things or grinding things or shearing off things, the reason why you have those issues is because of the binding. Okay, and parts don't need to be bound. All right, parts don't need to be slowed down. Bushings need to give you rebound. That's why they're bushings. Okay, but you put the wrong size pivot or the wrong sized washer and you'll feel it right away. And yeah, you might like it in the beginning and then you're gonna hate it. Okay, it's really simple, but you have to follow the geometry and you have to follow what the stock truck is. To be able to use the aftermarket bushings, you have to follow the stock suggestions. That's why they're stock, because you can basically pull it right out of the box and go skate. So anyways, recap. When you're messing around with your trucks, you really need to understand street truck, tall truck, downhill truck. Then you need to know, okay, what are the main problems with this truck? Well, you know what it is with the Bennett, you know what it is with the street truck, you know what it is with a Randall. But as long as you follow those guidelines, you shouldn't have any problems with actually getting the geometry correct. Even if you're using aftermarket parts, you shouldn't. Because it's super simple. You know you need a washer, okay? Not all trucks need washers on the bottom, like this one doesn't need it, okay? Look at the platform on the bottom. It's perfect. You don't need it, okay? That's also has a super short bushing on the bottom anyways. And if you do put a washer on the bottom of it, you're going to change the angle of it, and it's going to actually have a floating pivot, which you don't want, which means you're going to get a lot of speed wobbles and then break your kingpin and get hanger hang up. Same issues. So anyways, Griffin Skate out.